Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Jason, the creator of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2, and I will be working on 1.9 development today, and also be taking a few questions on Discord while I'm working, but primarily trying to crawl through some more of this code today and see what I can get working. I do have some things processing in the background, so if you notice a little bit of lag, that's probably just where my system's under load, but hopefully we can have some good results here. So let me go ahead and get our live stream going on the Discord. If you're not on our Discord channel, make sure to jump on. You can find the link on my Twitch, and we have a pretty great community there for Dying Light 1 and 2, where everybody's talking about the Dying Light games and also the I Am Legion mod. So let me go ahead and get streaming out. Let's see. Let's make sure that we have stream pulled up here. Great. So just to catch you guys up on where I've been, so it's been a really busy week, but I have been working on the mod, just not public, so I haven't been streaming this week as much, just so that way I can make sure to get through as much as possible. Basically, I don't like putting out those little 10, 15, 20-minute clips, and so because of that, I've been trying to just get this stuff done solo, but now I have a little bit more time, so hopefully we can get through some stuff today here. So one of the things I was looking at, so for 1.9, I'm going through and updating the logic for the AI, for the zombies specific, not the virals, but just the slow moving zombies. And what I'm trying to do is basically a couple of different things. First, create new types of zombies, and I've been experimenting a little bit with that. And then also update and change the visuals for the zombies. So far, I've not had any luck with that. So to start out, I'm going to start manipulating some of these scripts to find out if they're actually working. There's been a couple of things from this one script in particular inside of the presets logic. Go ahead and pull Notepad up. So most of the stuff that I'm going to be working with is going to be found underneath this human AI folder. But as I've started going through here, I've started to realize that I don't think this is actually working. Some things seem to work, but then others don't seem to work at all. And so I did a test the other day where I didn't zero anything out. I instead replaced all the visuals for the models just to see what would happen. And nothing changed. I'm looking a little bit more into the class system that they have installed here for how these models are actually determined. So let me show what I'm talking about here. So underneath our models folder, if we go and let's find one of these zombies. So if we go down in here to our zombie man, pull that over, you can see that we have this class system. And I think the class system is actually preventing certain ones from spawning, but that's kind of a rough estimate based on the fact that like certain ones just don't work. So for example, when I put in this zombie boss model, it is labeled as a demolisher and nothing happens. So even though I went in and zeroed out all the biter information, it never actually spawned as a biter. So I'm researching a little bit more to see if what could be happening is that maybe they have a system that is independent of um, these kind of registration systems that I'm using with this definition file. Potentially, it's not actually using the definition file. Maybe it's just pulling its list of biters from the actual models and saying like, okay, this is an available model kind of thing. With that, now that I think about it, I'm actually curious what models come up. So if we say Sublime, And let me just share real quick that I'm on here. So let's go ahead and clear some of these results here, and let's go through here and see if we can find some information. So if we go through and say we're looking for this value equals biter, I'm assuming that we'll only find stuff in the models, but why not? We'll just search everything. And what I'm going to do is I've started creating a couple of like new zombie types, where I'm trying to go and actually change some materials and create zombies based on models that already exist. And so with that, I'm going to go in here and actually say like, okay, if we have this zombie, whatever a zombie is, instead of using zombie, let's actually use biter. And it actually doesn't matter here much. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and delete that one. We want to go back to the mod and go under here at my models. And we will go in here and say biter, and that's the lowercase. Okay. So then if this file were working, and by that I mean the definition of biters, then I feel like it would, oof, I just hit the wrong thing by mistake there. Let me open my files back up. I was trying to send it to the other view and I accidentally just closed everything out. So let's pull back up biters. Hey Casey, how's it going?
So good, man.
How's your weekend so far?
Yeah, good, man. I just got back from a birthday meal with the kids.
Nice. Cool. I'm trying to see if we can get some custom zombies in the game.
Yeah, I kind of been earwigging on a few of the streams and noticed
Yeah.
you playing around with models and talking to other geezers about some models that aren't in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I'm running up against right now is that it appears like some of those systems, basically they only have this concept of where the visuals are stored for their models. They're all in these definition files. What I've seen, it doesn't really seem to work. So what I'm testing out right now is basically going in here. I tried to zero it out before and tried a couple of different things, but I just found something new that leads me to believe that the system might be doing something else. And so I'm going to start trying that and see if we can get anything to work here. But I feel like this is the only place where models are actually being set for these types of zombies, but for some reason it doesn't actually, the script doesn't really do anything. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of trial and error for you, man. Just mess with one thing at a time to see what happens, right?
It's just hitting a wall one after another. So usually I'll sit there and mess with it for a little while and say like, okay, take a mental break for a little while and come back. I'm also
Yeah, I don't
trying
know how you
to.
do it, man.
I've got this one that I'm trying to do where I'm trying to make weapons spawn sticking out of zombies, so have zombies kind of already pre-damaged before you see them, kind of thing. Just because they have this
That's a cool
limited
idea.
number of zombies, so if I can start randomly spawning, damage on them, then maybe it'll diversify a little bit more, kind of thing.
That's a cool idea, man. I mean, I really, on the similar subject, it would be cool if you could get your throwing knives back, right? Like if they could stay in enemies or throwing knives could spawn
Stick
in
in
an
them.
enemy. Yeah. You
I
know, we
think
could
that
pick them
that
up
should
as
be
loot
based
on the
off.
table.
They don't have a retrieval system in here, but I wonder if they're calling a destroy method to where when it impacts the whatever, it gets destroyed. I wonder if I can find where they're destroying the mesh and basically just not have it destroy. It could end up breaking the damage system though. So I'll have to. It's a good idea. I'm gonna add that to the list here.
Trial and error like everything. I'm sorry, technically minded, so I don't really understand. But I do know that throwing knives and arrows are in the game as pickups, right? So technically, they are there as a pickup. So
Yep.
same as other weapons, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I
Same
did
with
want to
like
let you
the
know.
spears and stuff.
I tried the optional files for your better spawns. I was playing with the latest Ultimate Survivor, and I noticed bandits spawn right in front of my eyes. In some like the similar locations. I tracked the location, used the same location. Then I updated with the add-on for the updated spawns. I went back to those same locations, and they seemed a lot more reliable. Like they would wait until I was at a better distance. They wouldn't just spawn on top of me.
Okay.
So
So
that was
so that's
useful to
interesting.
know.
So you're saying with point B2 that the spawn issue is still in there?
Yes,
Okay.
uh, bandits that would spawn around a car with one bandit jumping up and down on the car. Those guys,
Yeah.
they would
Yeah.
spawn when I'm like next to the car. But with the
Uh,
updated spawn
I
patch that you
wonder
put in as a data
what's your
4, that
den
was like an add-on.
is your density is your density settings the one that I have? Is it the 1.0?
Um, I don't mess with any of that. I literally play the
Okay.
file that you give me.
Okay. That's interesting. I was just curious because technically it's like if it's doing this thing where it's like updating the map, like it's sitting there spawning in characters around the map, and then it just there's so many spawning that potentially like as you're moving through the world, it's like playing catch up. Um, I
Same
can't
reason.
get it to do it on my side anymore, so I thought it was fixed. And so I'm trying to figure out what I can do to essentially break it so that I can test again because it's getting harder to test for that. I can't really confirm whether or not it's fixed for some people because it doesn't seem to be doing it on this side anymore.
It's okay, man. I use my imagination where immersion gets broken. I don't expect it to be perfect. But the same group,
Yeah.
I stuck around to fight them for a little while, and they were all still on me. I hopped
Yeah.
on top of the head, and as I launched in the air, they all disappeared. I go back
Yeah.
around the corner, wait a few seconds, and there they go. They spawn in that same place on top, jumping on top of the car, like clockwork. So
Yeah.
there's some issues with the groups, especially the bandits still there.
Yeah.
But again,
I'm
when I switched over to the optional file that you got out for the updated spawn list,
yeah.
it doesn't come as the same data 3, it comes as a data 4, the add-on that you've had.
Yep.
I didn't
Yep.
get those issues. I play tested for another 40 minutes around the same area, and it seemed better, just so you know.
Interesting. Yeah, I wanted to make that the new standard spawn list, but I wanted everybody to just kind of confirm because I did change some things up a little bit on the latest one. So it's good to hear. I'll probably go ahead and I think enough people have downloaded it at this point. I've seen usually I see the same things now that some of my daytime interior zombies are broken where they're getting spawned inside the world. But then I've had a couple of people say that, they've been playing the game and then all of a sudden like a viral or not a viral but a volatile has been like in a building and like jumped out to attack them and then hit the sunlight and then run back inside. And I'm sitting there like, that's amazing. Like, I want to experience that. I haven't had that happen yet. So I'm sitting there going like, I'm not getting rid of that just yet. We'll keep playing with it, see if we can get it even better.
Yeah, the only time I get volatile side building is if I start a chase and then go in, and then they use the vents and they can still. It's a chase, right? So they spawn
Right.
inside. Like if there's always a howler guarding one of those forsaken stores, and if I set that howler off on my way in, then I see
Mhm.
volatiles inside. But I haven't
Oh,
seen
I
them.
see. Gotcha. Yeah, no, apparently so I added some spawn code for those guys to where they should be spawning on the interiors just in general, and apparently they've spawned near some like I guess they're not attics, but like the higher up levels of like the houses and stuff like that. A few times there, apparently they've actually spawned like on that top level and jumped out kind of thing, and so I'm excited that that's exactly how I want it to actually work.
Yeah.
Civilization.
Do you
It's
see them?
there we go. What was that?
No, the volatiles. Back to the volatiles. I have seen them. You know those small buildings, but they're like by the canal.
Yeah.
Can't to describe them, but they're just a small low-level interior with like a small roof. You can see them on the intro after you fight the banshee, and you head over to the open map. You see
Yeah.
them for the first time. It's like a small
Yeah.
building. You see them always retreat to those during the day. They always hang around in those.
Huh. That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited to do a playthrough. I'm gonna like reset and actually play all the way through it here in a little bit. I'm excited to try everything out.
I've got still got a pretty fresh ultimate save. That low-level character. So I'd love to test out some co-op with you sometime.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I been super busy on this side lately, so I have not been able to actually enjoy the game as much as I'd like to. So hopefully here soon things will
I
slow
know.
down and I can actually enjoy this.
I notice how busy you get. I really try not to disturb you too much. I just appreciate
No,
your
you're
work.
good.
But yeah, I'd like to play, man. I'd like to play with you sometime. If you play testing co-op, I don't mind play testing at all. I'd do that
That sounds
gladly.
awesome. I appreciate it.
And as for now, my partner just came out. She wants to watch a movie. So keep
Okay,
up the good work, man.
cool. I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, thank you. And you.
All right, talk to you later.
See ya.
So for my viewers, what I'm playtesting here is I'm on Ultimate, and I was hoping that basically I've got this new type of zombie which is based on a child, and I was hoping that it would start spawning in. I've added them to the spawn list, so they should be spawning in. But based on what I'm seeing here, it's still a no-go. And I've actually got them in the list. So if we go back out here and we go to the biters, if we scroll down, you can see that I've actually got this new zombie type in here. This isn't the extracted one, is it? No, it's the mod. Uh-oh. Hang on. Huh. Well, looks like did I place? No. Oh, it must have been where I added it to the file where I was also doing the testing by changing all the different biters, and then I hit discard. So let's actually go back. Yeah, so I've added this character called biter child. Let me add him back to the list here because obviously he's not going to spawn if he doesn't exist. Let's go here. File. And then basically, let's just go set model, bucket comment here. Also, I don't think they should need anything else, but that's the thing is potentially, let me say animation variant. So for every time they list a model change. Do they also list the animation variant? It looks like it. No. Let's see that there's that standard breaking down where no, it doesn't. You've got one with the bag, but then again, I think the bag one is gone. I think the biter backpack is the one that actually exists. And then there's also this one called biter weapon that's supposed to spawn. And you can see here they've actually lined this out. So set field, weapon set. Interesting. So if we go up here to the top and say weapon set, I didn't know that there was a concept of a weapon set for these guys at all. No, there's not. So potentially they had this idea of doing a biter with a weapon, and then they tried to do the weapon set and it failed. So let's turn that back off or turn that back on, and let's just see what happens. Let's see if we start to get issues. And actually, just so that, well, so we've confirmed that none of that worked. We've confirmed that the visuals didn't update. I'm not sure about the spawns. What we can do here is I'll take this animation variant and I'll also throw that down in here just in case the modern ones do require an animation set as well. And then we'll also do this body scale. I saw that that was also one of the ones that was in here. And so staying back. And then are any of these, so they're all building on fighter variations, fighter weak. Here you can see is where they've got different ones here. Now, I know that some parts of this code work because I've gone through and I've set up, I'm going to actually discard this file. And then, so here, let me show you here. If we discard, well, actually, that's not true. Let me just grab this and we'll say paste. That should do it. I just wanted to bring back all of our regular zombie models there. So based on the files that have been modified, there is a new type of zombie that I have set up. I called him a viral, but he's actually a biter. I've added him to the meta file so that his model is accounted for. And I've also gone in here and set up a new class called the biter child. And I've also told in the human difficulty file, which potentially, hang on one second, if we go in here and say human difficulty file, this then says, and this is what I wanted to look up earlier, so you have this present. Interesting. So hang on one second, actually. We have human AI viz, which is this one. If we open this up, it's importing. Okay, yeah, I'm just getting caught up here. So I added this idea of the biter model tier 1. They were already doing this for the virals, which I thought was interesting. So the virals were actually being set by this file, which didn't make a ton of sense to me. And then also one of the things that I was noticing is that, so for a while my mod has been setting up their locomotions inside of this data presets file. But if we open this up, that's because they've got the parameter string. So we can't, I was really hoping that I might be able to set this up for like the, I was really hoping that I would be able to add this part of it to the set fields. But potentially what I could do is I could find the actual, all the different fields that I can set. If I can find that, then this might help. So it's like, question is where do I find all these different things? Basically, they have this constant file name, which is the one that is down under the behavior trees. So if we open this up here, and then we say, that is only going to find, well, actually, let's start pulling these up here. So if we go over here to the behavior tree, not the behavior places, the behavior tree, we go into the biters and we go into their constant file, which they don't have. What I'm referring to is, I believe the virals have one, humans have one, constants. So I assume that this file was going to be in here, but there's no such thing. So what I need to find is where is this? Because this is actually, what I'm trying to find is where we, oh, and actually we had the search before to say like, where are all of our biters? Quite a few biters in here. So the biters are only inside there. We basically have the whole list here of the different biters that are available. The problem with that is that I've been messing with this and changing these files around and they don't do anything. So something somewhere is setting these values and I don't know where that is. So we have pre-cached data for our zombies. Their behavior tree file looks like it's being set maybe by this pre-cached, which I've seen this pre-cached before. I really think that there's a lot more to this file. So, and this is actually one of the reasons that I think my config file was not working, is that they're basically pre-caching this into memory, just going off the term. They're pre-caching this into memory before everything is loaded in, which once I go in here and I start changing things after the fact, it seems like that's now a problem because certain things are in here being set by this file. So potentially the way this file works with this pre-cached data is potentially I can go in here and set these and I can set files inside of this file and then that will go down to those files so that things stop getting messed up. So we say we have our locomotion scripts up here. If we say, let me just search these really quick and see if we can figure out where these are. So these are under the profiles. If we go back to human difficulty, it's getting linked down to where I was already heading earlier, which is dividers and not the constant files. They're doing it a little different. So they've got them in here. One of the things that's in the base game is that they're not setting anything here. And that was actually one of the problems is that they're not setting anything. And so what I was trying to do was go in here and change how these are set up to where now in my mod, I have it set up to where these actually have information. So I'm trying to set a couple of different things by level. So if we go in here to our, basically trying to set like their speed and their prediction time and that kind of thing. Okay, so we know where the constant file is. It's the profiles. So we have the concept of the profile, and then we have their perception profiles. They have these weapon sets, and this is interesting. So they have weapon sets. They actually have these broken down by tier, which is interesting because they don't actually have the concept of zombie weapons. So let's find out what the hell they're talking about that. They also have a stamina preset, which is linked to regular here. They have the zombie loot. These are based on a tier system. And then they have the XP for killing them. Now under here is where I was trying to mess around with this file to basically say, okay, use these models for these characters as well. And that didn't really seem to work. Okay, I'm gonna have to step away for 1 second, but I will be right back. Second here. Okay, guys, sorry about that. So I was sitting here working on a little bit, but I had a phone call that I had to take, so I apologize. I discovered something that I is pretty interesting. Um, that leads me to believe that I'm missing something here, which is if you go over to the aliases, I'm not sure that these are. I'm not sure that these biters are actually real, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not sure that the information being used for these biters is the actual information that's being deployed. Like, I know that the biter class here, I know this works. Certain things about it don't work, like the AI model, but I do know that certain parts of this code is working, but I think this might actually be the problem here is that these guys are not hooked up properly because I'm modifying certain parts of the code and it's just not doing anything. And I've run into this before, and after looking at this biter profiles thing a little bit more, um, I'm convinced that this script might actually not be firing, which leads me to believe that I might be able to, what I might be able to do is I might be able to start going on the data zero file and deleting out files and seeing what breaks the game. I mean, that's probably not the best way to do it, but the problem is that like there's so many of these outdated and depreciated presets at this point that it becomes difficult to write new AI because from what I can tell, under this human difficulty and these different levels, I don't think these exist anymore. There's two of them right here that you can see that were depreciated, so those aren't being used anymore. They're now referred to as biters. So what they're doing is they're funneling in the old code that didn't work, and it's basically just turning it into a biter, and that's it. So everything's just getting funneled down into these simple ones. If you look here and go through this long list of aliases here, they're taking this what used to probably be a pretty good system of all these different guys and they're just dumbing it down to one, which is really interesting. But I think this is actually some of the issues that I'm seeing is that which you can see here. Here's where this bandit bow. So this is the problem I've had earlier with this bandit bowman spawning renegade. It's because they've got this alias here, and I didn't know that they had this. So more than likely in my own code, I need to line these out as I replace them because I'm pretty sure I wrote a bandit bow not knowing that it already was getting turned into something else. So we need to go to open world, bandit. Oof, that's not gonna go here, say bandit. Oof. It's down under the fodder. And see, I was worried about this before because I was looking at this the other day and I was noticing that there might be some things that got lost somehow. Because, hang on, let's go back to our Git really quick. Over here in point 7, we have our let's see, this is our features list. Point 6, maybe it was better human encounters, configurations. fix. Maybe this got lost. So I don't see it here. Interesting. So really strange. And I think that's what it was, is that I thought that Bandit Bowmen already existed because I saw in another spawn group where Bandit Bowmen were called. And I think the problem is that Bandit Bowmen did exist, but now they've turned into renegades. Which maybe this is potentially somewhere where they had more code or more story that they were trying to add, and they've gone and they've just removed all of this. But let's do some investigation really quick and just see. Let's see here. If we go search, and I'm getting kind of sidetracked here, but basically I'm running into a wall with the concept of the expanding out the zombies, because that's the thing, is it doesn't feel like this code, even though it's getting modified, it just doesn't feel. And I am starting to see that this does confirm a lot of the thing that the prefabs themselves are broken, that they're outdated and they're not actually getting used. I think a lot of this is confirming that, because you'll start to see more and more of these things show up in the prefabs, but then the prefabs don't do anything. And I've been saying that for a little while now, that the prefabs have just really not changed anything in the logic so far. I've been going in and making changes to all the prefabs, and it doesn't do anything. So that the actual prefabs being spawned are probably hidden, and the information that you get from some of them is probably gone. So they probably had a more complex system at one point that said, okay, we're going to go and spawn these prefabs, but potentially they've now switched it to where they're spawning definitions of players on through a new system. And basically this pre-alias file is funneling them in. So let's see how many alias files there are. So if we go in here and say ATS, there's ALS. We have a challenge spawn. All of these are just declarations, it looks like. Interesting. So there's really only one alias that takes any one of these things that are being spawned and it turns them into regular biters. So I guess my question is, would anything break if I line this stuff out? Probably not, because I wonder if do wonder if this file's even being used. I mean, it's interesting for reference, but I wonder if it's actually being used for anything. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch over to, I'm going to hide the display capture really quickly. I need to do something with my other work to get that going in the background here, but I'll just continue to talk about what I'm looking at here while I'm setting this up. So if the zombies are, or the biters are being turned into a simple one trick show pony, or however you want to put that, if they're all being funneled down to just the basics there, then the problem with that is that as far as updating or as far as adding new zombies, while I feel that that should be a very simple thing, if they really are funneling all of the code in some way that is not exposed, then you're pretty much stuck with what you got. So it really narrows down the scope of what you can actually get away with as far as expanding the system. I do hope that that's not the case. And what I'm trying to do is I've been trying to get to files that don't exist, that they haven't released, by doing kind of a capture system through an injector to start seeing what files are being called when the game runs. And that is in the hope that I can see that potentially I can add files into the data 3, which could then overwrite files that are actually being used but are not directly exposed in the data 0 and data 1. But most of that stuff, I don't know how successful any of that's going to be, and so I'm still trying to figure out the best approach of saying, yes, this will work, no, this won't work. And so I am trying to kind of keep that on the down low until I find out, if any of that actually works. But for the biters, I would be interested to see as a first step if we start going through and if I remove the code that is stopping them from spawning with weapons, do I start to get weapons showing up? If I start turning back on some of these systems that they had previously, you know, do I start to get more results as far as do I actually start to get more variety or variation or any of that? Is that any of that being said? And it might help actually uncover whether or not certain things can even be said. And so, more than likely, where I'm going to start, and I apologize, I'm just getting something set up here. More than likely, where I'm going to start is I'm going to have to start going in there and turning off, possibly in the data 0, just to confirm that that even does something. Because if I can't confirm that it actually does something, then that's going to be a problem here in the future. Because if we don't know what files actually work, you can waste a lot of time, obviously going in here and trying to write code that you then can't even test, you can't even verify that that's actually working. So I'm almost done here. I apologize for the turning the screen off, but if we get this part of it working, with some new spawns, if I can get some new things spawning. I did notice the other day that when I was creating the new survivors, that nothing was happening. And that's where I started to realize that potentially those human definition files don't actually work. Let me see here. Actually, we have like a storm blowing through here on the East Coast, and it was actually snowing for a little bit a second ago, so I was just checking. Um, so yeah, I think the next steps, once I get this started, again, I apologize, is going to be looking at what can I start breaking to confirm that those files even work. And if I can start to break stuff and I can actually see that it's broken, then that will help prove to me that it even worked in the first place, and that will help me expedite the process of trying to write new systems. So I'm gonna actually start breaking stuff here in a second. Hey Nam, how's it going?
Good.
How's your weekend so far?
It's going good. It's going good.
Good.
How about you?
It's good. I'm having a few letdowns in the system. I've been trying to write some stuff that I'm learning more and more about how many things actually might just be unavailable. There's certain parts of the code that starting to have my doubts about whether or not they're actually. But I'm trying to set something up right now on computer for my other that I'm just turn the screen off for half a second.
Gotcha.
You up to anything fun this weekend?
Probably trying to improve my typing speed.
Nice.
Not too fast, but I can hit like 70 to 80 right now with a pretty decent accuracy. So,
Nice.
or well, good to some people, but decent to me.
I gotcha. Are you using? I haven't used any of that software in a long time. Are you using a specific set of software to do that?
No, I'm just using a web browser,
Oh, okay.
but it's more responsive than some other things. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Get the screen back on.
so I just opened my night update because I have one, and the tip broke. Like the very tip.
I'm sorry, dude.
I get a new one in Tennessee in January, I think. So.
So let me see here. If we stage this stuff.
All right, I'm gonna go. See ya.
All right, talk to you later, man.
Yep.
Okay. So update to the visuals and this viral one. I didn't get a chance. I don't think. Oh, that's right. I changed some of the like pooling system to say like, okay, add to the pool of different characters that can spawn. But based on what I'm seeing, none of that's actually working. So let's see here. Now that that's backed up, and let me load up really quickly one more time just to make sure that I didn't break anything. Let's go back and say source data 3, clear it. Little dog's in the background here, and she's a little bit older now. She's heading towards 8, and she's gotten to the point where she can tell time. And so she's got 30 minutes before it's dinner time, but she knows, and she's trying to get me to come play with her or come feed her before that time. So she's doing everything she can back there to try to get my attention. So if you hear a bell in the background, it's her messing around.
Civilization is a vulnerable thing, a whim of circumstance. At any time, the smallest flap of a button.
And this is going a little bit slower here because I have some stuff processing in the background, and so I'm hoping that the CPU and GPU will actually push those other things down so that I can do basic testing here. Let's see. Probably gonna end up being like 1 frame per second kind of thing. But it should be enough to at least look at the spawns long enough to determine whether or not spawns have popped in, anything's changed. Played with the game this slow. Pretty fun. Not even registering like actual button presses. It's actually easier to play if I look at this streaming screen instead of the actual screen here. Okay, so nothing's broken. I think it's pretty safe to say. Oh, I got my frames back. I guess it did finally take over. I think it's safe to say nothing's broken, but obviously nothing is different here. So time to start going through and trying to break it, I think, to see if we can get anything working here. You know, compared to the default, you know, if it ends up that we can't modify the zombies as far as their visuals, and the different spawn groups, then that's fine for now. Maybe I'll think of a way in the future, but I know it would be a lot more fun if I could, obviously, but you know, we don't want to spend too much time fighting for a system that doesn't even, you know, actually exist here. About to fall through the map here. But yeah, I'd say it's safe to say that my little spawn thing didn't work here. I've set it up to where it should be a kid that's spawning, so obviously I don't see any kids out here, so I think it's safe to say that it did not work. I should have been over here. This little area. Let's see what's over here really quick. Oh, this is fun. I think I actually remember seeing somebody playing in this area before, but I didn't actually know where that was. Interesting. Okay. So what I'm going to try now is going through and actually lining some stuff out here. And so let's, for example, let's just go ahead and line this out. If we line that out, it should break. Because basically everything else is depending on that script. It's all claiming that it's importing that script. And so if this doesn't work, then I think it's pretty obvious that that script does nothing. Because this would absolutely crash the game if this didn't work. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to go back to writing behavior trees, I think. Because that would mean that even the, I mean, pretty much just lucky that the spawn system works at this point, if that also doesn't work, or if this file doesn't work or do anything. Because you know, I don't know why they would actually leave certain systems exposed like that while other ones um, work. It doesn't make a lot of sense that certain scripts do absolutely nothing and other ones do, unless they built replacement systems that are not exposed. So what it's actually spawning when it says biter, that profile that it's spawning, we might not actually even be able to see what that profile is. I've found that profile by doing this search and saying yes, okay, it's in this um, definitions file, but that doesn't technically mean that that's a legit file that that's actually working. It could actually be that that's not worked all along. So if we have zombies down here, we do, and they're moving. So the zombies are moving and working as expected, which doesn't surprise me. Okay. So that leads me to believe, which I am going to say I'm a little confused here. Maybe I set up the scale somewhere else, because you can see here that my scale system is working with the variation here. All right. So the next drastic action that I can think of here is we back up the data 0, we back up the data 1, and there might be a couple of quality of life things that we do here. Back up. If we do that, and then we go into our data 1, and we go into presets. Go in here and just delete biters. So we know that that one potentially doesn't work, but I know that the data presets works. So the data presets are working. This is affecting the way they behave. The question is what is calling biter level 1 script an easy ragdoll? So maybe what we'll do is let's just check for this. So let's go in here, let's clear this, and let's say biter easy ragdoll, and let's just see what comes up in the system. Okay, there's biters out of data 0. So if we then go in and hit launch, this game should crash if that file does anything. feel like that skip button is getting further and further out. No crash. Let me guess. Zombies are moving around just fine. Okay. That pretty much confirms that biter file doesn't do anything. So those definition files don't do anything. So as far as expanding those systems, that might be hard to do. Let's see if this found anything. Here's another alias. So this is an E3, and it's getting turned into a biter as well. Interesting. Okay. So then this is kind of a crazy idea. Maybe we should see if that file works at all. So we go in here, presets. Like, I'm assuming this one has to work because they've got so much outdated code here that they have to be rerouting this, right? So if they're rerouting this, then we should be able to go in here and say, and then also, does this one contain anything? Import human AI definition. So it's importing the human AI definition file. This file is importing human AI def. Where is this? Fighters def. It's saying it's importing it, but I think some of these have to work. Base and review. Interesting. So here's all of our values that could be used. I mean, I think it's time we cause a little bit of destruction here and say what actually does work. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to figure out if any of this can be expanded. So we go to logic, go to human AI. What if I just be dramatic? What if we just delete human AI from the entire thing? kill those files, and we'll see what loads. We have this alias pre. What if I send this another direction? So it's telling it to go and change them to biters. Fine. What if I tell that to go a different direction? Back to the data presets, which data presets, I mean, this one, let's find out what this one is doing. So let's see if this is being imported anywhere. And then let's go back to our file. Human AI is gone. Let's make sure that my mod isn't injecting any human AI. Here, presets, logic, human AI. Let's clear these. And let's just see what happens. Because potentially what I could do is that if it's going to be stubborn like this, then potentially I can reroute it completely. And this is very similar to what I had to do with Dynamite 1. And I didn't like the result of that one. But let's see what we get here. I mean, we've now loaded into the game. No crashes. Continue here. I feel like more has to be at the higher levels that I've gotten really far down into the subfolders, but that potentially I'm missing something in the higher levels. I think this is actually going to load. And the zombies are still here. Well, that saved a lot of time. So I guess my question is where are these zombies coming from? It's interesting though, because they seem kind of different. I mean, I guess not. Jump in here. I mean, I guess I don't know why they seem different. They seem different, don't they? They seem different. All of them are the same height. I think. And that's the thing about this, is that it's really hard to tell here. Let's keep looking. Are they all the same height? They sure look the same height. you have females, males, and they all seem about the same height. Again, it's me. I got the females, I got the males are taller. It's so hard to tell the difference there. Hang on. So if we go back in here and we say presets, humans, logic, human AI, and then let's kill that. Let's bring this one back. Take a look here. The despawn is happening there. They're all running the same. They're all the same height. No, it really was just a matter of looking for things that aren't there. Okay. Well, that's sad because that actually confirms that certain things no longer working or never working kind of thing. Although, I mean, call me crazy. What's that? Interesting. You exist. He does exist. Go back. I mean, that looks like a lot more diversity. And I mean, again, I guess I could be crazy here, but they all look slightly larger or smaller depending on their sex. Like, I got some small ones, I got some big ones. So, it's honestly getting kind of hard to tell here. Because I think using him as an example, if that's a male or a female, it's really hard to tell at this point. Because you can see I've upped the blood levels. It's definitely working. We say, let's no longer feel so much better. Stop. I think that's the downside of fighting these guys with armor, is that your weapons are basically just gonna break. It's gonna take forever for them to kill this guy. You can kill him. You get a takedown on this guy. The blood mod are definitely
Those PKs better stay out of my
pretty damn intense. So I really don't know. It is really hard to tell at this point whether or not that's working, because I turned that back off, and I guess that's what I'll do is I'll turn it back off. I'll at least delete my mod out, and let's just take a look again, because it's getting very, very conflicting on my side to be able to tell. So we delete that out. Exciting stuff, I know. use my spawn.
That Wolfbag Ader's hiding information from us. What kind of information? A guy I know in a hospital.
What happened?
The Christ little motherfucker.
You know they don't pay overtime here, right?
Money's the money.
Same spot, because basically what I'm going to do at some point here, I'm going to just compare the video, because it's getting really hard to test live and figure that out. So I might just put these guys side by side so that I can actually confirm here. Go back to the same location. Some of these guys come follow me. We got the bigger one here. We got some shorter ones. Okay. So I think I can safely say that no, it's all the same. They're all, yeah. Okay. So if that is not correct, then let's go back and say with the anti-aliasing. So nothing is calling this. If we go back to our different systems here. So we've got a couple of different systems that are being used. I have confirmed that certain ones of these are actually working. So if we go in here to like, let's try to view here what different files. This is a Dying Light 1 script. So we have these attachable items. Yeah, so this is a Dying Light 1 script. I was about to say that this is a Dying Light 1 script. This is not Dying Light 2 at all. It can't be. So, but let's search for blisters. Let's see if they even have the context of a blister in this. This is kind of a side note here, but we have to figure out. I have to figure out how this stuff is being set up at this point. So they did a blister test model fun. I don't think he made it in. Yeah, so all Dying Light 1 scripts. So I think it's safe to say that none of these are actually in the game. What we could do is potentially search for things like Spine 1. So that could show us where all they are looking at binding to the spine, but it's just so bizarre. So much of this code is Dying Light 1. It just really doesn't make a lot of sense with some of these things. Not really sure I believe a lot of these anymore. They're saying element. What if we just say spine 1? They have AI attachments. So essentially, I think what, well, I was about to say, certain ones of these absolutely work. So they have these AI attachment presets, and that's what I was messing with earlier in trying to add my weapon attachments. They seem like they're really simple. Let me try to look up here where they're actually calling this. Because I guess that's the part that's confusing as well, is that they have to then spawn it down onto, oh, this is going to be like, it's like the regular portable gas tank. Okay, so what if we say like a Molotov backpack? Let's undo that. Let's say Molotov backpack. The Molotov backpack person has been converted, I believe, in the alias file. So, was it E1? Yeah. So he was converted into the Renegade Grenader. So these guys don't exist anymore. Bandit Molotov backpack. So I guess we could go to like the Renegade Grenader and try to find all his references to find out where they're calling to put this object on the Grenader. That's it. So they're not attaching anything to him. Beachman. This is not a very productive letting day. Let's close there. Okay, so we know that the data presets work. We know those work. AI data definitions, which that can be found where? AI data. So where's this? In the AI definitions file, it then pulls in curves, interaction animations. So then what if we ask what all is pulling in that? So we say AI data. Ugh. So pretty much all of these ones in the data presets, and then the includes. So I think it's pretty safe to say that we know that the includes work. We know that the data works. So then what if we say what pulls in? Assuming this is done, it is. So what pulls in infected data params? Or I guess even better, what pulls in zombie params? We know that they are infected, but what is pulling in this? It's kind of interesting that they have the Demolisher and the Goon pulling in zombie data. They would be infected data. And that's it. So we have a couple of parameters here. Other than being injected, what if we then tried to find Huh. So they have vehicles in here as well. I think it's safe to assume those don't work, though they do have things like nitro and that kind of thing already hooked up. So, so it's kind of like we got what we got kind of thing. Unless I could find like a definition file where they're actually calling this. Okay. So I guess next let's test if the alias file works. Go in here and say human AI alias. What if I mean, one of the reasons that I feel like there is no juggernaut. If the alias was working, it's under the human AI file, and I deleted the entire human AI file. So I think it's safe to assume they're not using any of that. Okay. So under the context of a biter, seeing that all of my stuff here for my defaults. Is, yeah. We go in here and say these work. So let's go back here and kind of re-summarize where we're at. So if I'm trying to make custom characters, they need to be able to point towards these different things. The definition folder is what would normally do that, but it doesn't work. Definition file is currently where everything is being set, animations, all that good stuff. But the point is that it doesn't work. So the human AI folder doesn't work. I guess the question is, I was thinking about setting this up the other day. This idea where if we went to GitHub and actually we can do this as part of I Am Legion. So let's see here. If we go over to GitHub on fork and we say that has to be inside the mod file. I Am Legion mod where the Git directory is. So we don't want that. So I was thinking that what I would do is I would start to track their updates and see what they've changed. So we say new repository. And actually we can do all this, I think, from here. So we say initiate new repository. And let's go in here and say project work, I Am Legion, and then say rolling extracted files. The differences is I want to say, so Dying Light 2 vanilla potentially do all this with a kind of push. Um, yeah, so this thing's like an actual. So let's go in here and say, then like 2 for files. To file. It's private, and actually we'll make it public. Actually, probably private, so that way. Repository. Here's a project work. 2. Okay, so new branch. I apologize. This is where I've been using other software. I recently switched over to this fork software, and I'm not really sure. Oh, okay. Well, that's the reason, is that this is now close, open, project work, import files, select folder. And then the idea here is that I would go back to the extracted files from the start. Paste these in. Actually don't know why. Getting these, yep. If we go back really quick, back to the first one, might be because I added maps. Let's delete maps. Well, instead of deleting those, let's not delete that. Let's just not copy that in. So we'll say maps. Back, files, paste. And it's still a lot of files. I think the problem with this is I think by doing this, I'm going to end up eating up most of my storage on Git, but we'll see. Okay, while it's copying over, I'm going to step away for a minute. I need to push these out here in a second, but I also need to take my pup out. So I'm going to head out for a walk. I think I'm going to actually end the video at this point, and I'll go ahead and start a new video here in a little bit once I get a kind of a established repo here. But essentially the idea is I'm going to take and establish a repo where I can drag in the original files. So these are from day one game release. And as the mod has been going, I've also been extracting the files as they've been updating. So what this should result in is we should be able to see all the actual files that they're manipulating. And that will help me quickly be able to A, understand which files actually work, and B, also be able to target files that they're updating to see if there's anything interesting or anything worthwhile actually going and updating or continuing to fix in those files. Because currently what I have going on with this whole thing about the zombie AI is that there's nothing there. Even when it comes down to this idea that, like, if I take custom models, I do the custom models, I then get all that code set up. The question is like, where am I setting up the spawnable characters that are then getting loaded into the spawn list, because it would appear that those files don't actually work. So kind of a frustrating in circles kind of thing here. So I'm going to try to take a step back, get this part of the project uploaded. I am going to make this public. So that way, if you guys want to see, I am a little concerned about releasing this officially, just because these are their actual game files. And so because of that, more than likely what I'll do is I'll set this up as a private repo. If you're watching this and you're working on a mod, you would like access to this repo, please reach out to me. And what we'll do is we'll keep it offline or private. So that way, there's no way that they can say, I dumped all their files onto the internet, kind of thing like that. So, yeah, I think that's the current approach. So I'm going to step away for a little bit, and I'll be back and work on this a little bit later. All right, thanks, guys.